There is one model which has taken the entire artificial intelligence space by storm. It was launched just 10 days ago and it has already become the #1 app on App Store and everyone is talking about it. Sam Altman from OpenAI is freaking out about it, Nvidia stocks are plummeting, and the entire space is talking about Deepseek R1 from China. Hi, I'm Ishan and this video is an in-depth guide about Deepseek R1. I'll first talk about what is Deepseek R1, why is it better than ChatGPT, then we'll understand how to use DeepSeek in its various forms, and then we'll also talk about what can you potentially build with Deepseek R1. And to be honest, the possibilities are limitless. Make sure you watch till the end, hit the like button and subscribe, and let's first talk about Deepseek R1, the model. First up, what is Deepseek R1? So Deepseek R1 is a reasoning model which was recently launched from China and it has quickly become the most favorite model for everyone to use today. If you're using ChatGPT every day, you have to check out Deepseek R1 because of one big difference. Now, along with this model, there was a research paper published about how Deepseek R1 was trained, and the one word is reinforcement learning. While OpenAI trained ChatGPT through supervised fine-tuning in which all the data is labeled and the model is about to pick up patterns in all of that data and become a better large language model in general. But in the case of Deepseek R1, it was trained using reinforcement learning. But what is reinforcement learning? Imagine a newborn baby who's trying to take their first steps. Now, instead of knowing how to do it, it just tries a bunch of things out, figures out what is the best way to stand, and stands for the first time in his or her life. Think about you learning to ride the bicycle for the first time. You don't really know what muscle to move or how to move it. You just try it out yourself and you figure it out. And you're able to then, in a week or so, able to ride a bicycle. That is the idea of reinforcement learning. All the self-driving vehicles are able to use reinforcement learning to understand how to become a better driver. All the humanoid robots that you might see who are able to walk are using reinforcement learning to learn how to walk effectively or do certain actions. It's all based on an agent trying out different things and figuring out what can give him the most incentives. And whatever action helps it increase the score, it goes in that direction and does that even more. But what this really means is whenever you ask a question to Deepseek R1, it will think multiple times about the solution. It will first come up with the answer. It will then reevaluate its answer, thinking of ways in which this answer can be wrong, and then come up with a better answer over time. So with the help of reinforcement learning, Deepseek is able to evaluate its answer over time and get better at it compared to other models. That is what makes it unique. And with the help of distillation, which is basically a process in which a bigger model can be transferring its abilities to a smaller parameter model, you have access to it. Anyone can use it, even on a smaller laptop with lesser specifications. And I'll show you how to do that in this video. But let's talk about what makes it better than ChatGPT. Like if you're already using ChatGPT, why do you need to use DeepSeek? For a couple of reasons. Number one, it's completely free and offers on-par performance with O1, which is a reasoning model by OpenAI, which costs over $200 per month. First reason. Second reason, Deepseek R1 shows its thinking process to you, which ChatGPT O1 hides. So you're not able to look at how is this model thinking. This is important because if you want to learn about something, it's really good if you can look at the process in which the large language model is thinking about it, right? That makes it unique. In a previous video, I talked about how you can learn to code by simply looking at the thinking process when you ask Deepseek R1 to build something for you. Number three, Deepseek R1 is completely open source and you can run it locally on your own device as well. And that makes it amazing because now you can take that model and you can run it offline and you can train it on specific data and then it would work on that particular context itself. Another benefit of using a reasoning model like Deepseek R1 is that you don't need to master prompt engineering. While previously using ChatGPT, you might have to specify everything about what you want. You will have to write lines upon lines and paragraphs for it to come up with the right answer. In the case of Deepseek R1, you can simply write one line, and because it evaluates and reevaluates its answer, the answer will be much better. You don't have to worry about how in-depth your prompt is because it will automatically optimize its answer in the process of coming up with the answer itself. And last but not the least, the API cost of using Deepseek R1 is 27 times cheaper than that of O1 by OpenAI. And that is enough incentive for all the companies out there to be switching from OpenAI's models to DeepSeek model to save up on a lot of cost. 27 times is insane to think about, and that is the benefit of Deepseek R1, and that is why it's making headlines around the world. With that being said, there are some shortcomings of using Deepseek R1 which you should know about. The first thing is, whenever you query something, whenever you give it some personal data, especially on the chat feature, always know that that data is going to be stored in People's Republic of China, which is generally not seen as a safe place to store all of your data. That is why India banned TikTok. That's why US is trying to ban TikTok. And in general, having your personal data being stored in servers situated in People's Republic of China is generally not seen as a safe thing. Number two, it's not great with creative writing. Because it's a reasoning model, it's best with logic, with math, with science questions, with coding questions, and that is what it optimizes over. You might be better off using Claude Sonnet for better creative writing purposes. And one last problem with Deepseek R1 is its censorship problem. I'll show that to you in some time. But essentially, if you ask it anything about China or the government, it will censor that information and will say, I cannot answer this question, especially on the chat version. If you are able to do it locally, then you can ask questions to it and it will answer it to you properly. But these are three big problems with Deepseek R1 that you should always keep in mind. Enough of me talking. Let's actually go on the system. Let me show you how to run DeepSeek online, offline, and how can you build anything you want with Deepseek R1. All right, I am on chat.deepseek.com. This is basically the chatbot that you can use of DeepSeek, just like ChatGPT, to ask anything that you want. You can just go to chat.deepseek.com, make your free account, sign in with Google. And this is the interface that you will see. First things first, you have Deepseek R1. Now, this is basically the R1 reasoning model that we've enabled. So you have to enable this. And if you want to search the web in real time, then you can tick this box as well. So I can ask it any math question that I want to. For example, what's the differential of 1 by x? And it will give me proper thinking and the answer as well. So the thing that makes it unique is that it will now think about the question and the answer and will reconsider the answer if it is the right answer or not, and will come up with the final answer for me. This is brilliant because if you want to learn anything new in math, in science, or in coding, you can look at the thinking process and understand how to think through the problem step by step. So this is called chain of thought thinking, in which basically this model is going to break down this problem in multiple steps and will show you its process for arriving at the solution and not just coming to it directly. And that is why I love DeepSeek for learning anything new that I want. So if you go over here, you can see its process. First, I need to find the derivative of 1 upon x with respect to x. Let me recall the rules for derivative. The derivative is x to the power n. The derivative of x to the power n is nx n minus 1. So it will do that calculation over here. And then it will think of a different way to answer the question. So the thing is, another way to think about it is using limits. Derivative is the limit as h approaches and the function itself. And then it will solve this using the limits approach. And then it will again think about it. Wait, let me make sure I didn't mix up any signs. The derivative of 1 upon x is negative, which makes sense because as x increases, 1 upon x decreases. So it's thinking a lot about this problem, and it again thinks about it just to double check. Maybe plug in a value, let's say x equals to 2, then f of x equals to 1 by 2. Derivative of x equals to 2 should be minus 1 upon 2 to the power 2, which is minus 1 by 4. And it is going to do all of this right in front of you. And then after trying out all of these approaches, it comes up with the answer, which is going to be minus 1 upon x square dx. And then if you go down, you can see the actual answer of this question that you've entered. But more than this answer, this thinking process is what you should always look at. And that's why I love it. Let's say you want to ask it any question around science. What will happen if I start racing at the speed of light, for example, and explain it to me like I'm 5? And look at the thinking process. It takes some time because of so much load on the DeepSeek server. It doesn't always give you the answer, but it's free, so you cannot complain about that. Okay, after a few attempts, it is able to answer the question. It thought for 22 seconds about it. And this is the thinking process for a scientific question. It talks about time dilation, it talks about length contraction, it talks about energy requirements, it talks about causality, all of these scientific terms and keywords it is talking about. It is talking about photons traveling at the speed of light, and then it is concluding, putting it all together, explaining according to Einstein's theories, impossible for anything with mass to reach light speed because it would require infinite energy. And then it explains you the answers. That's one example of a scientific question. And now let me show you how can you code using Deepseek R1. So I just gave it a prompt to build a single person space arcade game in Python. I didn't give it any other instructions and it just thought about it automatically. So it created lists of things that it has to do. So it has to initialize the Pygame window. It has to create the player sprite. It has to create enemies that will spawn automatically. It has to solve for collision detection. It has to figure out when does the game really end. And it just creates all of that code on its own. So this is the code using Pygame in Python. Then I realized that I'm not going to be able to run this in this browser itself. So I need to use JavaScript instead of Python. So I just said modify this code to use simpler shapes instead of images. And I want to run this code on DeepSeek chat itself to see how well it works. So then it is able to remove images and just use solid objects. And then I ask it to rewrite this code in JavaScript, as you can see right here. And then it is able to rewrite the entire code and modify it according to JavaScript and its syntax. So it does all of that, and then I ask it to run HTML. One thing you will find out in this game is that you're able to move, but you're not able to fire when I press spacebar. Then I asked it, I'm unable to shoot by pressing spacebar, check the code and fix it. So it goes through the entire code base, figures out what is the problem, realizes that it has to do something with pressing the spacebar and detecting that. And then it fixes that, changes it to a different code base. And now we have this code with us. Let's see if it works now. So I press red. I am able to play the game, unable to fire bullets. And this is basically the game built just by using Deepseek R1. This is just an example. Obviously, you can build much better things with it as well. You can ask it to make the game a bit slower and maybe adjust the difficulty level of the game. And that's how it will work. So you have the score, you are able to go around, and this is the game built entirely in JavaScript using Deepseek R1. You can also ask Deepseek to create simulations. So in this case, I'm asking it to create a rotating triangle with a free flowing red ball inside it in JavaScript. So I'm basically wanting a rotating triangle and it should have a ball inside of it. So it thinks about the problem, comes up with steps to solve it, and then writes the code for it over here. As you can see, it thinks a lot about it. It almost thought for 124 seconds. That is insane. Let's just go down and see what it wrote and if it really works. This is the code for it written in JavaScript. I'll try running it, and as you can see, it's not working. The ball just comes out of it. So then I ask it to change the code. The ball went outside the triangle as soon as I ran the code. Fix it. The ball must always remain inside the rotating triangle. So it thought about it. It figured out how to solve it, rewrote the code again, and then if I press on run the code, as you can see, at least it is better. It is better than before. I can keep asking it to refine the code if I want to make it better. But this is an example of how can you create simulations inside of Deepseek using just plain text in JavaScript or any other language that you want to. You can also do some funny things with Deepseek. I just sent it a hey with multiple Ys, and it thought a lot about it. It thought for 3 seconds before saying anything. And it says, okay, the user sent hey with a bunch of Ys. They seem excited or enthusiastic. I should reply in a friendly and upbeat way to match their energy. Maybe use some emojis to keep it casual. Hey there with a emoji. And then it answers you, gives you this answer. Also, let me show you the censorship problem. So if you go over here and ask it about anything related to China, it will not give you an answer for it. So I asked it, why does the Chinese army keep attacking the Indian army and try to invade parts of Kashmir? This land is owned by India, is what I gave it. And it first thought about it for a couple of seconds, then it completely stopped it and said, sorry, I'm not sure how to approach this type of question yet. Let's chat about math, coding, and logic problems instead. That's how it works. Then I asked it some more questions. For example, how many slaves were used in the construction of Great Wall of China? And it gave me the answer for that for some reason. So that's basically how it works. There are some problems with it. You cannot ask it anything about China because then it will start to censor a lot of the answers. Now let's talk about how to run Deepseek R1 locally in your own computer. And this is really fun. So all you have to do is to just go to Ollama. Just go to ollama.com and download Ollama on your own system. So this is basically going to allow you to run any open source model locally in your own browser, in your own system. So you'll download for Mac OS. It'll take some time. And once you're done with that, you can basically just unzip it and install it as an app in your system. And then I'll just click on open. And then I can just open up Ollama on my system itself, move to applications. I can click on next, and I can just install this command line prompt called Ollama. I can enter my password, and then I can run my first model. Now, I don't want to run Llama 3.2. I want to run Deepseek R1. So let's not click on this. Let's just go to models on the Ollama website and go to Deepseek R1. So this is the page where you can download Deepseek R1's distilled models. Now, Deepseek R1, the original model, is a 671 billion parameter model, which is 404 GBs. That is huge. That's a big model, but you don't need to use that yourself. You can very easily use the 7 billion parameter, the 8 billion parameter model, which is more easier for your system to handle. Essentially, this is a process in which the capability of a big model is now condensed, distilled into a smaller model, which has lesser parameters, but has almost the same capabilities. So as you can see, this is 1.1 GBs, the smallest model, which is 1.5 billion parameter. This runs on a Raspberry Pi as well, which is pretty crazy to think about. But I think all of your systems can run the 8 billion parameter model. To think about if it can run on your system or not, just multiply the size of this model, which is 4.9 GBs, by 1.2. And if you have that much RAM, then you can probably run this model on your system. So that's about it. I will just go ahead and click on the 8 billion parameter model. We'll go down and we'll see how to install it on your system. And this is the prompt for it using Ollama. So I'll just open up terminal and I will say Ollama run Deepseek -R1-8B. And it's going to download this model. As you can see, this says 4.9 GB, so it will take some time. And I'll come back to you once it is downloaded. And in about 5 minutes, the model is finally downloaded and I can now start querying Deepseek R1, the 8 billion distilled parameter version of it, which is running locally on my system, and I can ask any question I want from it. So I can say, what's bigger, 8.11 or 8.99, just for example. And you can look at its thinking process and get the answer as well right in your terminal. This is not using the internet. This is not using the chat feature, which I've showed you previously. This is DeepSeek model hosted locally on your own system. There are a lot of things you can do with it. You can basically ask it for help and it will tell you what all you can do with it. For example, I can just say show info and it will tell me that it's using the 8 billion parameter model. It is again the DeepSeek model itself. And I can also ask it to show me some templates and I can see what can I ask this assistant, or I can just say that I want to clear and now my context of this session is cleared. This is how you operate DeepSeek on your own local system using Ollama in your terminal itself. Now, if you don't like interacting with the terminal, we can change that. We can have a better UI. And to do that, you can basically just go to anything LM and you can download for desktop. This is basically like a UI that will help you play with any open source model out there. So I'll just click download unverified file. By the way, if you're liking this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. I'll be making a lot more videos around AI agents, around DeepSeek, around what you can do with these AI tools. And I have been doing that over the past 1 or 2 years. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for more videos around DeepSeek and AI in general. Okay, this should be downloaded. And now I can basically install anything LM in my system. Let's just wait for some time while it copies. One thing to note is that Ollama is running in the background and you can see it with this sign over here. So it should run in the background because that is how we'll be able to use it inside of anything LM. Okay, so this is one example. You can also use LM Studio. So if you don't want to use anything LM, just go to LM Studio and download it for Mac. It works very similarly, just like I showed you with anything LM. But now we'll go with anything LLM and let's just run it for the first time on this computer. Okay, it is good to go. I'll just click on get started and search LLM providers. So you can, as you can see, you have so many options. You can go with OpenAI, you can go with Anthropic, Gemini, you have NVIDIA's models, you have Hugging Face, but we'll go with Ollama and we'll go with the model that we currently have. So if you don't know what model you have, you can basically just open up your terminal. We'll close this one. Open up your terminal and just say Ollama list. And you can see all the models that you currently have on your system locally. And basically that is all you need. Going back, we have the 8 billion parameter model. I'll just go ahead. Let's just keep going ahead. I'll skip the survey. I'll call this, let's say, Ishan. This is my workspace. And now I am good to go running anything LLM on my system. Now the way this works is that I can create a new workspace, call it, let's say, DeepSeek demo. And I can go to the settings part of it, go to chat settings, and I can change the model it will be using. So I'll be using Ollama and I'll be using the Deepseek R1 8 billion parameter model. And you can tweak a little with the numbers over here. So this is the chat history, number of previous chats that will be included in the person's response. Then you also have the LLM temperature, which is basically how creative do you want the LLM response to be. I generally, it's showing 0.7. You can keep it like that. You can try going with 0.4, update the workspace. And now you can basically go and ask any question and run DeepSeek locally on your system using anything LLM. Let's ask it a simple question. How many letters, how many R's in the word strawberries? Let's ask it that question. And it will again think about it, but this will all happen locally. So as you can see, this is the thinking. So I need to figure out how many R's are there in the word strawberries. Let me start by writing the words, the letters. So strawberry written out like that. Then it figures out one by one if this is R or not, if this is R or not. So that's basically the answer is 3 and it is correct. And this is how you use DeepSeek inside of anything LLM running locally on your system. The benefit with this over terminal is that obviously it looks nicer, but also you can attach any file that you might want. So you can attach any file and you can ask any question about that file to Deepseek R1 using anything LLM. You can also use any of these agents that you have over here. So maybe you want to do some web scraping, maybe you want to summarize some document. You can do all of that using anything LLM and accessing Deepseek R1 through that. That's it. This is how you use DeepSeek locally on your computer. Now, one insane thing you can do is to start using DeepSeek with Perplexity, and that is basically God mode. This takes the power of pro search of Perplexity and combines it with DeepSeek's reasoning capabilities. Let me give you an example of how it works. So you go to perplexity.com. I will just make a simple account and now I'll just click on try DeepSeek R1. So we'll click on reasoning with R1 and now I can ask anything that is happening live and ask it to reason it to give me some insights. For example, my focus can be web. So I'll just say search the web in real time. Latest news in the space of AI. And I will be using R1's reasoning capabilities to ask it and analyze the best ideas to start an AI business today in 2025. Press enter and you will see it first comes up with the most important news in the space of AI. And then it gives that to R1 and comes up with the most important business ideas that you can start today. And this is the best thing you can do with Perplexity and DeepSeek. We can start a new chat over here, new thread, saying, I want to come up with, let's say, ideas. Search the web in real time. Most important news in the space of freelancing and give me 10 viral ideas for Instagram Reels that will work today in January 2025. And I'll just press enter. It will find out the most important news in freelancing and will then give that to Reasoning R1 model, which will then come up with amazing ideas for you to create reels. And that is the best part about it. Now with the free Perplexity account, you get 3 R1 searches every day. And if you get the pro subscription of Perplexity, which is about $20 a month, you get 500 searches every single day with Deepseek R1. Now the best thing about using Deepseek in Perplexity is that, first of all, your data is not getting stored in People's Republic of China. It is actually stored in US storage places, data centers. And second important thing to understand is that there is no censorship. So as I showed you before, if you ask anything about China or any other topic, it will censor that information. Here, it will not, because Perplexity is hosting this whole model on their own database, on their own server. So they don't have to worry about any of that. So it first gives me all the important news with links over here, 7 trending small business ideas for 2025. And I can have a look at all of these data points. Then I can look at ideas that I can make content about. This is all the data that we have right now. And then viral reel ideas. AI took my job. Here's how I adapted. And you can look at the references for that as well. Trending audio, use my Shaila dramatic POV sound. This is insane. So now I have access to the caption, trending audio, and what to actually say in the reel as well. This blows my mind. Freelancer mental health check-in. Text overlay, 72% of us get ghosted by clients. How do you cope? And this is incredible, which means that you can now create data-backed content, which you know will work really well. I've been using it for a while and I love how you can get the benefits of real-time news and data along with reasoning. This can get you the best answers in terms of research. It can help you out with generating content ideas. It can in general just help you stay ahead of the curve and stay informed. Not only will you get the news, you will also get to know what it means for you using the reasoning model of Deepseek on the Perplexity platform. This blows my mind. This is the basics of how you can use Deepseek on chat, how can you use it locally, but there's a lot more that you can do with Deepseek as well using the Deepseek API. There are a couple of ways to use the Deepseek API. Either you directly go to platform.deepseek.com, which is not working right now. So you can go to Open Router and you can go to Deepseek R1 and click on API and just click on Create API Key. And this will help you with using the API of Deepseek through Open Router. Now, what can you do with Open Router? Basically, you now have access to Deepseek's API and you can build anything you want with it. Maybe you want to build an application. Simply you go to Cursor AI and you can download Cursor and you can just ask it to build a website for you, and all the content or all the code that you want it to generate will be generated using Open Router, which has API of Deepseek. So that's basically how it works. So you can essentially build anything that you want with Open Router and Cursor. Another thing you can actually be doing is to use Deepseek for automations. So what I mean by that is you can go to make.com. This is a website that you can use to create automations for anything that you do normally. You can get started for free, but the way this works is that over here, you can create a trigger. Basically, let's say you get an email on Gmail and you want to get a reply for that email as well, done for you automatically. So you can basically create a trigger, which is getting the first email from Gmail. It takes that email, it sends it to Open Router, which is using Deepseek R1 model. It then creates the answer, the reply for that email, and then it sends out that answer on Gmail as well that you can basically send to the person who's emailed it to you. That's just one example of what you can do with it. The possibilities are endless. As much as what you want to do, you can get into marketing, you can get into sales, you can get into operations, finance, and use Deepseek R1's API through Open Router for all of these automations. Maybe you want to automate your customer experience by creating clever scripts using Deepseek R1. You can do that over here. You want to automate social media posting. You can do that with Make and Deepseek. I can make a separate video if you want me to do that about how to do this step by step. Let me know in the comment section below if you want me to do that. But that's basically how I use make.com and Deepseek. Another thing you can do is to create AI agents using Deepseek R1. The way to do that is you basically use browser use. So browser use is basically an open source framework with which you can create AI agents without having to depend on OpenAI's operator. So operator, let me just go and show you what that is. Operator is basically a way for you to create agents by OpenAI who will do the tasks on your behalf. So you can ask it to order food for me, book this cab for me, check the prices of this hotel and book that for me, and it will do it in real time for you. So it will go on the web browser, it will search for TripAdvisor, it will search for Uber, it will then make the purchase for you, and you just have to pay using the card that you have with you. The problem with operator is that you can only access it if you are in US, and number two, you can only use it if you're on the $200 per month plan, which again is very expensive. But you can build operator like AI agents using DeepSeek and browser use on your own. And once you have browser use in your system, you can hook it up with an open router API key, which will basically be Deepseek R1's API. And with that, you can build any agent that you want powered by Deepseek R1. Again, I can make a separate video on that. If you want me to do that, let me know in the comment section below. But that's one more thing that you can do with Deepseek R1, creating AI agents for you and doing the work on your behalf. One more thing you can do is to make Deepseek R1 your own coding assistant. So basically, if I go to Visual Studio Code, and let's say that I want to go to extensions, there are various extensions like, let's say, Klein. And with Klein, I can basically install this, and in its settings, I will have an option to attach an open router key. And again, with open router, I can get access to Deepseek R1. And with that, I can basically get a coding assistant, which is powered by Deepseek R1, used in my Visual Studio Code base itself. And that is the power of using all of these tools together. I think this is revolutionary. You today have access to the best model possible in your hands locally without any big corporates asking you for money. And that is the best part about Deepseek R1. This was my entire full guide or introduction video to Deepseek R1. Let me know in the comment section if I should make a detailed video on any of the topics I've just talked about. Definitely use Deepseek R1 with Perplexity if you want to research, if you want to get deeper insights about what is happening in the world out there. And let me know in the comment section, what did you like the best out of this entire video? Thanks a lot for watching this till the very end. Hit the like button and subscribe. Share this with a friend of yours. And I will see you in the next video. If you're still watching, write in the comment section, I watched till the very end. I'll see you in the next one.